founder CEO of Thread, and we are a HR technology payroll company, but our mission statement is building high performance, high culture companies. So when we've been doing these interviews about future of work and how to kind of not just survive, but thrive in a COVID or post-COVID environment, I have looked for what I believe are trendsetters or people that are on the front cutting edge of what's going on. And I think that you guys are a perfect example of that. So what I would love for you guys to do is just introduce yourselves and your company first, and then we'll go into the questions.
My name is Dan Berman. I'm the CEO of three companies, Concentra Solutions, PharmaCentra and Cannabis BPO. We have a footprint in the United States and Canada, so all of North America. We have around 200 employees between the two locations.
Awesome. Thank you. Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Christmas, and I'm the Vice President of Human Resources for Concentra Solutions, PharmaCentra and Cannabis BPO.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So it's awesome to have you guys on here because I think that what you guys have been through, moving from almost all in office, at least in the US, and like you said, in Canada is a little different, to being almost, or I guess it is 100% remote, right? In a very short period of time. So I think all of us can learn from you guys on how you did that. So we put together 7, challenges that I think companies have when going remote like this. And, the very first piece of it to me is, recruiting in this type of environment. And I've even seen it. We went almost 100% remote. I'd say we're 98% remote. And we're in the middle of recruiting people, and you guys are recruiting more people than we are. So we want to, learn from you guys. And, one of the benefits of having a remote workforce is that you could potentially recruit, and you don't have to worry about the geographic area. So you could recruit nationwide, you could recruit globally even, potentially. But there's also, I think, a lot of disadvantages, and I think one of the most important things in recruiting people is getting the right people for your organization. So what we've seen is it's even more important to get your mission, vision, values, and who you are as a company and a company culture out there in every front and center. What are some things that you guys have done to make sure that the mission, vision, values of your organization is out there front and center for potential prospective employees?
I'll start. It's been a real challenge to try and figure out, first of all, what is corporate culture? And corporate culture in a call center environment is a challenging concept to begin with. Very high turnover rate, a lot of transitional employees. And so how do you build a corporate culture in a high turnover environment like a call center to begin with? So it's not something that we take lightly. It's not something we haven't thought about for years. One of the things that I've discovered is when we do town hall meetings in our facility in South Georgia, because of shift differentials and people aren't there on certain days, we end up with, very low participation in a lot of the town hall meetings. Now that we're remote, because everybody is also curious what's going on with the company, our participation rate in our town hall meetings via WebEx or Zoom, we use Zoom as our platform, have been phenomenal. I mean, like 50% of the employees watching it live and the other 50% watching it recorded. And so that was our aha moment. That maybe this is an advantage in a call center environment. It's an opportunity. So one of the things we've done is we've tried to mix up our town hall meetings, not just me and not just our executive team giving updates, but we're talking about our mission and bringing guest speakers, think TED Talk type speakers to help our employees understand our values. Our very first speaker that we brought in was a young man named Contrell Jackson, who was released from jail. He was in prison at the age of 14 for a murder he didn't commit, and he was put on trial and put in life in prison without a chance of parole. And the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama, helped get him released. In the light of Black Lives Matter protests, in the light of what we're seeing in this country, a majority of our employees are African American. So we decided that we wanted to start doing some education and some opportunity to hear Contrell's story. So we invited Contrell on to our town hall meeting a couple weeks ago, actually, and the response has been phenomenal. We invited the community, we invited our employees. It was open to anybody, and it was a real statement. I was really, really pleasantly surprised with that, and because of that, we decided to really make a series of webinars or town hall meetings. Our next guest is a former NFL football player, a guy named Marvin Washington, a very good friend of mine in the cannabis business, who is going to talk about equal justice in cannabis and equal justice in food. That's his passion. And we'll be bringing guest speakers across the board. It could be any subject matter you could think of that we think drives our corporate mission and helps our employees in their quest for ongoing learning.
So why, Dan, do you feel like, so it sounds like you guys added those things after you went remote, as opposed to doing that prior to going remote? What made you think about doing that now that everybody's remote? Was that a decision because you were trying to figure out how to pull people in since they're all out of the office now?
Yeah, I mean, it was my aha moment is I'm a remote CEO. I live in Atlanta. I have operations in Canada and I have operations in South Georgia. And so I spend a lot of time in airplanes and cars visiting our facilities and meeting employees and, as they say, management by walking the hall. My aha moment is we're on our executive team meeting as we're going through crisis management, trying to figure out what to do and what our plan is. And we all jumped on Zoom just reactively. We used to do it by phone.
Right.
Now we're all on Zoom for hours at a time, like we're in the same room. Mm-hmm. And it worked. It's like, wow, this is actually more effective in many ways because our executive team is really spread out. We have some people in Indiana, we have people in New Jersey. These are higher end employees that have been in the business for a long time. It doesn't matter where they live; they can work from anywhere. And so it's not like we weren't used to remote workers with the executive team anyway. But what we weren't used to was we weren't doing Zoom calls together. We were doing phone calls.
Right.
And Zoom calls are infinitely much more effective. And that was my aha moment that this is actually could be an advantage for us. And it has been. Our participation rate has gone up. And part of it, again, is because of the timeliness. People are hungry for information on, what's going to happen with our business. We closed our facility. Our lease was up. And we closed our facility at the end of July. So everybody's got questions. But employee participation is extraordinarily high, and we've had engagement participation at levels and quality that we haven't had before, and so, which is shocking to me. And so once I discovered that, I said, let's run with it. Let's just use this medium and do what we can with it.
That sounds awesome. So Dan is kind of a visionary guy. I can see, I hear that in my company is I've got this vision, have these ideas, and then everybody else is kind of left to figure out how to execute some of this stuff. And that's Kim, I think. Kim has to execute some of these ideas, right?
Right. And we were lucky when COVID hit, we had already signed up and were starting to use the iHire platform for our applicant tracking. And so we had already been testing that with some trials, and we just took that and expanded on it. We find that the introductory questions as well as some of the other integrations have helped us with that selection process. Mm-hmm. So it's been a huge help for us, not only hiring locally, but also with us spreading our net to be able to hire and recruit across the country as well as in Canada.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that plug, because iHire is an applicant tracking system that we provide, and you guys have been a great user of that. And I know that was fairly recent, along with a couple other things. One thing that I'd love to know, so when it comes to hiring, so you guys started, you moved from being mostly in office to being remote. But see, when you interviewed and hired the original people, they didn't think they were going to be remote workers. Do you feel like, I don't think that everybody's cut out to work remotely, and maybe they are, maybe I'm wrong, but it takes a certain type, a little bit of self-management, a lot of metrics and accountability, job performance management, I think as well. But do you what have you guys done to make sure that the prospective employees you're looking for fit the remote working environment? Have you had any issues around moving people from in to out, being in the office to being remote workers?
Well, our existing employees that were in-house, so we got word March 13th that schools were closing. That was Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th. We got word that basically starting the following Monday, half of our workforce would be calling out.
Mm.
So that was a challenge in the beginning, but moving those employees to work from home helped us in two respects and helped them with childcare issues. But since that time, from that date forward, we have only recruited and hired for work from home. And so we use a couple of different techniques and questions, making sure that they have adequate workspace in their home, making sure that their internet capacity is adequate for running our systems. So since March 13th, we have only recruited specifically for work from home employees.
Okay. So when you talk about, that was one of the questions I had was, making sure not everybody has a space at home that's set up for working. When we first sent everybody at home, home, we had people that were sitting on their couches with a table in front of them. And what do you do? Do you require them to let you know what they have at home to work on? Do you provide any of that? Like, how do you determine that they have the right setup for working from home?
So our requirements is pretty simple for right now. Is just that they have a quiet place to work free of any distractions. So that's the requirement. And then also secondary to that is technology. So they must have high-speed internet service with bandwidth that we've determined that is adequate to operate our systems. As far as other equipment, we've worked with a vendor based out of Atlanta that is doing fulfillment for us. So once we hire someone, we engage with that vendor to ship out to the employee's home a laptop and other equipment that's necessary to perform the task that's necessary for them.
Okay, awesome. So I know you mentioned iHire for applicant tracking. Are there any other tools that you recommend or that you guys are working with for sourcing the right candidates?
We are using the iHire, which also distributes our job postings to multiple job boards, some of them free, some of them paid. We are also boosting some of our posts for hard to fill positions. So that's helping a lot. And then also once we have the candidates chosen, we start the interview process and we are using the Zoom meeting for that.
Okay. What do you feel like, so you've sourced great candidates. Now you've got to make an offer, and I'm sure you're using iHire for some of that. What are you doing to make sure that you get the paperwork? Now it's all, you may have in the past had people come in and fill out paperwork. How are you handling that now?
We're sending out our job offer letters to candidates via Adobe Sign. So we get the certified electronic signatures, and then we're using the iSolved onboarding platform. So that sends a link out, and the employees are completing all of their onboarding paperwork electronically, I-9s, and that sort of thing. We do have confidentiality agreements, and that's included with the offer letters that are signed electronically.
Okay. So now you've got somebody hired, and what I am seeing, and as we brought in a couple new people, it's more of a challenge. It used to be easier to get people to get to know their teammates and get to know, their manager. And I think Zoom is a great way to do all that. But what are you guys doing? What are some best practices, or how are you getting these new people onboarded to where they feel a part of a team? Do you have any recommendations on how you guys are doing that?
Well, other than the Zoom orientations, we are using a platform called Slack as a communication platform. We have different Slack channels. One of our groups has actually started something new. It's a cooking channel. So every month they put a mystery item up there, and then the employees create their recipe and their item, and they post pictures and describe the taste, and that's a way of them connecting. They also have, we're doing Zoom happy hours, if you will, social hours, after hours. We've had a group that did a Netflix movie night, so they virtually watched a movie together. So a lot of creative ideas.
That's awesome. It's probably created more opportunities than because before you may have just thought that they were doing those things together anyway, getting to know each other, but now you're kind of creating an environment and developing ways for them to get to know each other. That's probably more than they ever had before, you know?
That's very true. And also in our situation, we had our operations center down in Americus, Georgia. So that was a group that networked together. And then we had our group up in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. So now we have the opportunity for those two groups to network together and get to know one another, whereas that wasn't contemplated before, and
right,
makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. We did some things like that too, because what I noticed on with Zoom is that you got to know a lot of your direct reports and you're talking to them all the time, but people that are in different departments, that started to break down a little bit. So we started something called, and I didn't get this, I got this through another company, Belay, which is outsourced bookkeeping and payroll company for churches. And they recommended this. So now we have something called Thread Connects. And so each week we're assigned someone from a different department to do a 15-minute, 30-minute just, connection. It could be, you could meet for coffee if you want. Most of it is remote for us, virtual, Zoom meetings, and just to get to know somebody that's not part of your team. So that's been kind of cool.
I'm going to grab that idea and just have Zoom coffee with Dan or Zoom coffee with Kim. I think that's a fabulous idea, because that is one of the things that's missed, is to be able to go into the break room.
Mm-hmm.
I joke in the call center industry, you want to learn about your operation or the operation you're visiting, go hang out with smokers in the outside in the smoker area. And I miss that, because I can't get, I'm not a smoker myself, but you really do get to know people outside when they're smoking. We don't have that anymore. So that's a great idea to have Zoom coffees.
It's been a lot of fun. So Dan, you recommend performance management, performance metrics. Knowing the real-time performance of the team is become even more important. Tell me how you guys do that.
Well, we have, everything that we do is measured. We're on a CRM system. Some is homegrown and some is third party. And so we're tracking everything. That's part of our business. We track how long people are on the phone, how long it takes them to make a sale, how long. And the neat part about it is there's so many tools out there available off the shelf that have been available to medium and small and large call centers for years, that are now available to really small businesses even that hadn't contemplated it before. So, like for example, it's not a measurement tool, but we can measure Slack engagements. The Slack tool that Kim was talking about, we can go in and see how engaged people are, what level. Gosh, you got a power user over here who's on Slack too much. And here, this person hasn't signed up even. So there's measurements within every tool, every communication tool you have. The measurements are in there. You just have to go find them. So even if you're not a call center like us, the tools that are using, even one of the things that I didn't realize, Microsoft Outlook has tools within it to find out your collaboration time versus your focus time. I never really paid attention to it until recently. I get the regular email from my Outlook account, but those are tools that are available to management as well.
Right. Yeah, what I've seen is we're shifting from worrying about controlling somebody's space and time to focusing more about output and real output and performance. And so that puts a lot on the company, from a leadership perspective. it makes you really think about those things and making sure that you've done the right things and putting in real performance metrics and making sure people, you know, are doing the job and getting the output that you're looking for. So then you need to know, what is the output we're looking for? So it requires us to be better leaders is what it really does, I think.
No question. It's like, it's the equivalent of all of a sudden that you're driving along and it's daylight out and all of a sudden it gets dark and you can't put your lights on. And you're not gonna be able to see the road until you turn your lights on. So it's like, oh wow, car's got lights. Check it out, I can see now. And that's kind of what it feels like transitioning to work from home. Is the tools have always been out there, but it's forcing all of us as companies to sharpen our skills and sharpen who we're hiring and sharpen what our mission is. And I think in many ways, it's a huge opportunity. I like to say in the call center industry, our business isn't complicated. It's sticks, bricks, peoples, and computers. And now it's just people and computers, not sticks and bricks. And it's no different for traditional business as well. So it's really forcing us to strip down our business down to its base needs.
Right.
And it turns out we didn't need real estate as much as we thought we did.
That's so true. And I think like you mentioned, hiring, finding the right people, being better at hiring. We did a series on hiring as well, and just making sure that, you know, you're hiring to what the company culture, you know, what you're looking for as far as, you know, we went through this process one time with a psychologist, PhD psychologist, who helped us on the hiring process. And he said, what are the characteristics you're looking for in this hire? And of course we listed 10 or 15. And then he said, and you know you're not going to get all those because no one's perfect. So now let's stack rank them and decide which ones are the non-negotiables. And so that's kind of what we went through. And that's not easy to say, oh, well, I thought I needed all these 10 or 15 things, but you're probably not going to get them all. Which ones are you okay not to get? And which ones are ideal? You know, which ones do you have to get? Do you feel like there's any character trait or anything that you would say would make someone be more successful in a remote environment?
Well, first, and I'll let Kim speak to that as well, because she has some good insights into the candidates that we're drawing. But the first and foremost observation that I've had is we don't have to make as many compromises to get the right people as we used to because of geographic constraints. Every business is faced, well, they're great candidates, but they live 45 minutes away without traffic. What if there's traffic? There's all kinds of constraints and compromises that we'd have to make when we hired somebody. Maybe they're not the perfect candidate, but they got the perfect life situation, so they can work the hours.
Right.
And now we don't really have to make any compromises. We can really hire who we need, who really fits the job. Maybe it's not all 15 components, as you said, but maybe it's 7 of 15 instead of 3 or 4 of 15.
Mm-hmm.
So we have definitely raised the bar in terms of the employees that we're looking for, being able to get the employees that we're looking for because the net is so wide now.
That is
Kim?
so. What about Kim? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I also think it's resourcefulness, tech savviness, because they're not on site. We can't call over the help desk folks and go to that agent's desk and help them with their IT issue. They have to be able to have some base knowledge. So that's one thing. I think with us being able to not be limited to geographical location, we're finding more diverse group of candidates with different experiences that might be, in some respects, a little more well-rounded.
Totally agree with the geographical constraints, because we would look at, you look at a resume and you say, gosh, this is a great candidate on paper, but they're 45 minutes, an hour away. And basically you couldn't go forward because we're in Atlanta, Atlanta traffic is going to cause that person to be very unhappy
Mm-hmm.
after they sit in a 2-hour commute. So it opens it up so much to be able to do that. Now you've hired some people, you've got them on board, you found the right people. Now the hardest part, I think, is getting them trained and up to speed on the job. And that's not a one-time only thing, that's ongoing. I know you guys have recently started working with one of our products called Learning Management, or Learn Pro. I'm not sure how much you guys have used that so far, but what are what are your methods right now of getting people trained?
We have our general orientation training. We've set up in LearnPro. We are also using Zoom for our program specific training right now, but we have engaged someone to take our what would be given over Zoom training and doing the voiceovers and doing the videos for that. We're very excited about that because some of our programs require annual refresher training. So that will be easy on the agents on time. They can go in and complete that training. The automation of it, having an annual alert to go out to those employees. And then on the back side of that, some of these we have to report back to our clients, which of our employees have had that training. And so being able to run those reports from iSolved is going to be very helpful. And we were just discussing that the other day with some of our program managers that have those particular training requirements.
Right. Yeah. Being able to automate that more. And because like you said, training is it's just not a one-time thing. It's, you want to train them to get them up to speed on the company, you know, what the company's all about, what their job is all about, but then it's ongoing training. And then you may have, you know, an opportunity for people to want to learn other jobs, you know, doing some kind of cross-functional training.
Right. And what's really nice about it also is that in our business, if we have a call center agent, we can't shut down operations to do a training class. So with it being available 24/7 to those particular employees, they can go on their own and take care of those courses without us having to suspend operation or having to take a manager away to conduct multiple training sessions.
I'd like to add that one of the things, you know, back to recruiting the right people, I mean, training, the nature of training is different now. It is more self-paced. It's more, you have to have the right personality type that's willing to embrace training that way. I remember when I was in junior high school, I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, Ithaca, New York, and we were next to Cornell. So any experiment in education, if they ever want to try, they used to experiment in our schools on us. And they had this self-paced math program where you could have little breakout sessions, not too unreminiscent of how we're doing our training now. And I'll tell you, as a junior high school student, I struggled. It was really hard for me to learn that way. And some of the kids in my class excelled and were able to get to, you know, 10th grade math in that 1 year because they were so much better at that type of learning. And so we're learning that there's certain types of personality types that are very good at the self-paced learning, and some struggle with it. And it's now we're able to identify much more accurately the personality types of the people that will succeed in this type of new training environment.
Have you done anything? Are there any assessments, or is there anything that from the learnings that you've had on that? How do you determine who that is?
I'll let Kim speak more to that, but it really is a package deal. We do a lot of assessments. We do a speed test, we do a typing test, we do a personality test, and we're finding, as we dive into this data, we're finding trends about certain things. And if you can check these 3 boxes, chances are that you could probably get to this next level and learn on your own. We're not there yet. This is a process, but we are gathering data to be able, and it's getting smarter and smarter and smarter. And anecdotally, the quality of employees that we're getting is really at a different level because of that screening process.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that is so important, finding the right people who are able to learn in a remote environment. Kim, is there anything you would add to that?
Yes, and like Dan said, we've been doing this, like I said, since March. So we have a couple of months under our belt, and now we're taking that data and analyzing it. We're using a BI tool to do that, so that we will be able to drill down, and that will help us narrow down our search and be more specific and strategic in our recruiting and our hiring practices. Because as everyone knows, it's expensive to hire and rehire. So we want to hire right the first time.
Absolutely.
And so this is all going to help us with that.
Yeah, I love data. So when you guys are able to drill down into that and you get any info on that, let us know. I'd love to share that with our clients and prospects, because we're all trying to learn how to do this remotely. I've also heard, there's some people that are saying this is just a short-term trend, and that once this ends, that companies are going to be back as they were before. Do you see that happening at all with you guys, or this is a total change in direction for you?
This is a total pivot, 100% pivot. I do anticipate, and we are anticipating, that some clients might come back to us when this is over and say, we want you to be back at a facility for security reasons, for whatever reason. It's the clients, that's what they signed up with us for. In those cases, we will probably build what I refer to as micro facilities or regional facilities. So we'll end up, my guess is, in some form of a hybrid model. I've always been attracted to the hybrid model in some form or fashion, because you can break down the geographic constraints. So instead of having one big office that can accommodate 400 people, you have a bunch of little offices geographically dispersed, let's say through the metro Atlanta area in a big circle, so nobody's and never more than a half an hour from a facility. And the team is required to come in once a week or twice a week to work with their team in person. It mitigates the need for real estate. It helps enhance that team aspect. So I do believe that might be part of our model eventually. Right now, it's 100% home-based, and the longer we go, the more likely or less likely we are to go back to a facility, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are starting to, I think some of our people originally were not happy being remote. And now I think they're starting to really adjust and enjoy the flexibility that it provides. And what we've seen is our NPS, Net Promoter Score, for our clients has skyrocketed, which I did not see that coming. So it's been the highest it's ever been. And what I'm seeing is that, like, our time to first response has gone way down. So I think people getting those maybe hour to 2 hours of time that they used to spend commuting, now they're able to work a normal, say, 8-hour day, and they're just happier.
Everybody's adjusting, and everybody's learning, and everybody's hard way and the easy way.
Right.
But the Net Promoter Score is interesting, and this is really accolades to you guys. The reason your Net Promoter Score is so high is because you were in the thick of it with all of this, and you did a fabulous job educating your customers on your options, and that's why your customers are so happy with you right now.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. All checks in the mail for that little little comment. No, I appreciate that. We did get thrown right in the middle of it, and it's been really challenging but fun. I've really enjoyed this time more than ever, because we've been able to do things that, besides just running payrolls and benefit admin and things that are just necessary evils in a way, and adding value to our clients. And so that's been fun. So as we wrap up, I just want to kind of open it up and for you guys to just share any other best practices that you have found to be helpful in this time of going from in-office to remote working. Is there anything else you guys would like to share?
I just wanted to say that we also used another technology platform for collaboration on projects. We use Asana, and we were using it before the pandemic, but we've all become super users now, and it's been very helpful for both collaboration as well as communication on what's the status of this project. And it's helped our team members work together when we can't just walk to the office next door, if you will.
So is that Asana, is that more project management system?
It is, but we're using it in multiple ways so that we can, we have projects, and then also just general help. We've created a help desk ticketing system, if you will, for our HR department. So putting terminations in so that we can track the progress and making sure all of the steps are taken. We're using it for new hire requisitions, that sort of thing as well.
Okay. Is it fairly easy to implement?
I think so.
I'll speak as the technology idiot. Yes.
Oh, if Dan can use it. No.
I can use it. I mean, it's interesting. We implemented Asana before the pandemic. We had a new CIO start about a little over a year ago, and the first thing he did was brought in Asana to help manage the IT ticketing system. They have an internal ticketing system within IT that he uses for visibility on projects, but what we were finding was they didn't have a good system for the regular frontline managers to submit tickets that they could track in a layman's manner. And it's given everybody tremendous visibility into the progress. And at Kim's point, the way it used to be is, if something wasn't happening, I'd stand up and walk across the building over to IT and say, hey, you guys, what do you expect? There'd be no documentation, no tracking, no nothing. Now we're forced to use Asana, and there's no question marks. Hey, why isn't this done? Look at Asana. It's all there. It's really, really helped with manager visibility into the progress of projects, because that's really, in our world, production didn't suffer. What really suffered when we moved remote was projects. So new client setups, a training initiative, whatever it might be. Projects where you have to tap IT, you have to tap HR, or whatever it might be. Those are the programs that really suffered in terms of moving things forward. And Asana has been a fabulous, or any productivity tool like that has been fabulous in helping us really hone in on what needs to get done.
Collaboration is something that's a challenge in a remote environment. So that's like you're saying, you use Slack channels. We do the same thing. We use a different product, but it's very similar to that. Slack channels, project management platform we also have. I think when you need collaboration with multiple departments involved, that's a big challenge when you're not in the office. So yeah, those are great tools. Well, I just think it's amazing what you guys have done, because I've kind of seen the growth of your business over time. You've been a client for a while now. And I just think it's amazing the companies that I've seen pivot during this time and become innovative like you guys have done. And I know you're working on some other interesting projects as well. Dan, you want to do a little quick shout out on what that is about?
Certainly. This is the new release 1.0. We've been in the outsourcing business for a long time. I've been in the space for 30 years, and traditionally clients have hired us for our domain expertise in pharmaceutical, healthcare, quality assurance, and patient engagement, quality of engagement, and now with cannabis, with our newest business, Cannabis BPO. And because of our footprint, we had 2 facilities. We could compete for small and medium-sized programs. We couldn't compete for the big monster programs because we only had 2 facilities, and they were only so big. When COVID happened, my aha moment was, we're hiring people everywhere, anywhere. We can compete with all the monster BPOs, business process outsourcing companies, for the very large programs. What we're also seeing is a tremendous trend in reshoring of these types of jobs. In 2013, we're seeing about 100,000 jobs a year come back to the U.S. from the Philippines and India, and now we're seeing 100,000 jobs a month.
Wow.
And why is that? Because the Philippines and India aren't really set up to have remote workers during a pandemic. They don't have bandwidth at home like we do. They don't have a space to work in like we do. So clients, as they should be, are very concerned that these very large BPO firms are going to be able to handle an ongoing pandemic with a work from home environment. And so they very, very aggressively start to reshore these jobs. And so we're trying to grab some of that market share by offering a new type of service, a new type of outsourcing. We're calling it resourcing, outsourcing redefined. And what we're doing is we're taking the labor component of our engagement. Traditionally, clients would hire us and we'd give them a loaded rate. That loaded rate included labor, included supervision, call center platform, CRM, facilities, sticks and bricks, computers. It was just a loaded rate. The model hasn't changed at all since outsourcing started. The only thing that's changed is labor arbitrage of shifting it to the Philippines and India. The rate changed, but the model didn't change. So we're changing the model where we're taking out the most important component of that engagement with a client, and that's the labor. And we're calling it transparent labor pricing. So if the client wants 100 people in a call center environment, work from home environment, they can contract with us. We will recruit them. We'll bring them on through iHire and iSolve. We'll manage them on their behalf. If they want us to manage them with supervisors, we can charge them on an a la carte basis. And transparent pricing is really, really interesting and really important, because any large engagement, you can ask a client, what is your vendor paying the employees? They don't know. And what we found is the most important component, the most important asset is talking to your customers, your most important asset. And we're doing it as cheaply as possible in our business. And so with transparent pricing, it enables us to raise the quality of the labor, raise the rate of the labor. And now we have this very wide net, this North American net, so we can get that labor anywhere. And we can compete with the largest outsourcers if you want to hire 500 people or 1,000 people or even 150 people. And if you need our additional services like quality assurance monitoring, supervision, strategic engagement to figure out what a large engagement should look like, we offer that separately a la carte. And it's kind of like the insurance company ad that says only pay for what you need. Labor is the most important aspect. That's straight, transparent pricing. We mark it up a set percent. You know exactly what it is as a client. And that's our new business model. We're very excited to be launching it, and we're very excited to have Thread as our partner on this, because that is really the back end of our entire offering.
I think it's so interesting what you guys have done on that. And I love companies that have pivoted during this time and created something innovative like you guys have. And I think it's going to just skyrocket and be a huge opportunity for you.
I hope so. We're very excited about it. We're very excited to be working with the partners we brought into this. And it'll be an interesting next 24 months, no question.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kim, so much for talking to me today. This is going to be helpful for our clients and our prospects that are finding this to be a big challenge right now, trying to figure out how to work remotely and how to bring on board new employees and how to train them. And so I just appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much. And you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.